Hello. The original Dying Light is a game that's really close to my heart. It's one of the first games that I played properly on my own time around the time it came out, as well as the DLC. Running around on rooftops and shit, bashing zombies with pipes and getting mauled by virals is still one of my favorite experiences in gaming. So when Techland announced a sequel, much like everyone else, I was very excited. It is now out, and it's pretty good. I just wanted to say a few things about it here as a quick little thing because I've been really excited to see this one, and I think that people being vocal about their opinions now is more important than ever. There's a lot of folks, for some reason, that shit all over games like Dying Light 2 before they're even out and publicly playable. It's really fucked up, actually. It's not that I'm against criticism, quite the opposite in fact. I just think you can do that without disregarding any enjoyment others may get out of something, and also not by disregarding the years and years of hard work that the devs put into making the game. So, if you take anything from this short little intro, you should play games for yourself if you really want to have a super strong opinion about it. Screaming into the void just because you heard someone else say that someone else said that it was bad is kinda dumb. Be individuals, not just spouting what you heard someone else say. Anyway, enjoy. Holy fucking shit, dude. Look at this mushroom. It's good. Newsflash, people. Dying Light 2 is good. Do I think it's perfect? No. No game is perfect. I don't really believe that a game can be perfect, as otherwise how could anything be better than a perfect game? But I do think the game needs some performance fixes as well as some work over time, but I do think that they will do that. I'm confident the devs will work on it and make sure it becomes better over time. Considering how they treated the first game with 5 years of updates, which they definitely weren't lying about, I'm very confident they'll work on it and improve it. Now, in terms of the combat, it's definitely not as the same as the first game. While the first game had very smooth combat, being able to take a sword and cut 3 zombies' heads off at once, almost like cutting butter, which was fun, but I mean, come on, you have to admit this doesn't make any fucking sense. No living human could do this. I'm assuming that zombies' necks aren't made of just jello. Dying Light 2 tries to dabble in realism in a very similar way to 2017's Breath of the Wild, actually. It has mechanics that use realism, but it's not necessarily realistic. Like, no human person could make this jump realistically, but it would probably take a lot of energy if someone were to pull it off. I like that about Dying Light 2. It grounds itself without not allowing the player to have any fun. The parkour stuff is great as well. I love that they changed it so that in the original game you had a sprint button, but in this game it works a lot more like the original Mirror's Edge, where it's more about building momentum and getting a good combo of moves going before you can really get going. The parkour is fantastic, and I don't think anybody's complaining about that. Actually, the most divisive thing about the game is probably the zombie combat itself. Dying Light 2 zombies are so fucking wacky, it's great. These guys ragdoll like they're drunk off their asses, which is super fun to watch, but it's not really a combat system that requires any actual thought. Unless you're playing on the harder difficulties, the regular old zombies aren't really a threat at all, just an annoyance. That's what I like about Dying Light 2. You have to actually think about how you want to chain together combos and kicks and abilities to build up to those wacky moves that you usually could just use in the first game. I think it's actually much more rewarding to learn this system and slowly master it than just hitting and kicking a zombie until it's dead. I get it if people don't like it as much, but I also really respect how the devs wanted to make the combat more engaging. I also really like the stealth mechanics. I think that this game's zombies are still dumb and funny, but much more genuinely threatening with their presence. Like, sneaking through crowded areas of sleepers, like in this hospital scene, is genuinely super tense. Let alone when you have a small horde chasing you down and you're in the dark and you have like 5 minutes until you turn. It's a lot chunkier, but in a way that I think makes it way more interesting and engaging as a game. If you like the first game more, then I'm not going to tell you that this one is objectively better than the other one. I just don't think it should be personal. Speaking of people, the human combat between Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2 is absolutely night and day. For one, you can actually block this time around. You can leap off enemies and then kick another guy in the face, chain together these devastating combos, and just absolutely wreck these dudes. The first game's human combat was kind of like that video of the kid running around a pool with the knife. You're the kid with the knife, and the person holding the camera is the human enemies. It's just kind of silly. Human people in Dying Light 1 are pathetic, to say the least.
Let me see what you have!
It's a gun!
But the humans in Dying Light 2, whew, they feel much more active. Sometimes they'll chase you across rooftops for a little bit. They'll swear at you from a distance and call you mean names. They'll do special leaping attacks and use their own special human abilities to call friends, like this guy that uses a big old drum to summon more buddies. The new combat also works wonderfully with all the new infected types, as well as the choices you can make with the human people. If you really want to know, it's sort of like Mass Effect, but with slightly less choice.
Look! It's the gimmick!
But that's not really a bad thing. I'm glad the choices don't completely bog down the rest of the game. I like being able to make small decisions like this. It makes the game feel more dynamic in terms of its story, which is definitely a good thing here. Also, fucking hell, man, the soundtrack. Jesus Christ. I love the original game's soundtrack, so when I booted up this one and had my fucking socks knocked off by composer Oliver de Riviere, I think that was close enough.
Oliver de Riviere.
I was very, very happy and surprised. This game's soundtrack is like god tier. Like, I put it next to stuff like Outer Wilds and Deltarune and Undertale. It gives me chills sometimes. I can't really say much more than it's good. Like, it just rocks. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say here. It sort of has the same kind of synthy vibes from the first game, but with a little more orchestral backing, which gives it this more tense feel. The entire game just has way better stakes than the first game. The stakes are way up there. I can't even reach them. I'm starving. Overall, I think that Dying Light 2 prioritizes being different over the first one, which a lot of people may not like, but hey, I mean, the first game still exists. You can go play it if you want to play the first game. I'm a strong advisor for if a sequel is the same thing as original, then it doesn't really have a reason to exist. I think that sequels should try to do something different that warrants its existence. And hey, I think in these times we should be able to have some optimism about these things. Enjoy things, flawed or not. You can enjoy things as well as being critical of them, so enjoy things! And remember, out there with all these people fighting over video games, over politics, over real-world bullshit, whatever is currently going on, in these crazy times, just remember to try and not just survive, but stay human. Take care.